So, good afternoon, everybody. So, Tony spoke about Bordeaux wine, something heavy. So, it's to give you a flavor that now you have to be in France a bit and you will have to hear the French accent. I don't know if it's the heavy Bordeaux or something lighter, but it's the French accent. So, thank you, Melanie, for the invitation. And just wanted to thank also some people that are in the audience because for preparing this presentation, I reached out actually to some SMEs colleagues or some colleagues in SMEs because I didn't want to present only the Alexion view here, and especially for the topic that is in bracket here, including e-dossier preparation and submission. And so I will try to present a broader view on this. So I think, okay, an introduction. I will describe a bit the marketing authorization application process and the key interaction with the SME office, some unique challenges that we face, especially with regards to the ECTD here, and a short conclusion. So as an introduction, and I think this is a summary of a few things that have been said this morning. You know, one speaker said, I had a dream. Maybe this is my man here on the left-hand side on the wall. He has a dream. Now, which path to follow when I am very small and SME? Do I have enough money? Because I will rely on consultants, I will rely on CROs. Do I have enough money? Ultimately, our goal is to have a marketing authorization. And in our case, it was an orphan drug for an ultra-rare disease. But I think we all have the same goal here, is to bring a product to the market. So when the SME initiative started, I think what is really, really important, and I hope that after the presentation this morning and later when you leave this workshop, it's key, and it has been key for us to see really the SME office at the center when we started to approach the agency here. And we contacted them very often, informally, formally. They always pick up the phone. I think it's really important to use this, and we can do it. So I'm not going across the circle here, but they help with all those things. So the question, how are the current incentives helpful to navigate the MAA process? So the incentives provided by the SME, the help provided by the SME. So you all know that there are numerous procedures. And I can understand that when we start, it's really difficult to understand the regulatory review processes, the complexity, the committees. There are various committees involved here. And you have numerous contacts in EMA. If you do a PIP, you talk to a PIP coordinator. You do a scientific advice, you talk to a scientific advice coordinator. You do your orphan, your ODD, you talk to the ODD coordinator. And I can understand that this is something a bit difficult, you know, and you can have the impression, or we can have the impression that we always have to tell the same story. And then numerous documents, of course, for those applications that we have to do ahead of the marketing authorization application, but then, of course, also for the dossier itself. It's a highly regulated environment. We know that. I'm not going to go into details here. So that's a slide, actually, that I created. And I think it puts the EMA in the center here in this building in London. The committees around, with help of the working parties. But again, I put here in pink the SME. And I think what is critical is that the SME, when you are a small company, a small or medium-sized company, SME can help, first of all, to understand who does what and to connect you. And that's, for me, something very, very critical here. So the diversity of the regulatory interactions in Europe. On this slide, you see across the development of the products. I have put different arrows which represent the different committees with whom we interact. So, I mean, it's not limited to, we could put many more arrows here. But I have put something else also, is during the clinical development and even after marketing authorization, we interact also with the NCAs, the national competent authorities here. So for your clinical trial authorization application, and this is also a key feature, I think, of developing a drug in Europe. again, SME provides help and support. Now, the marketing authorization process in Europe, same. We have seen some slides in the morning through the development here, and then through the centralized procedure here in the blue box in the middle, all the committees with whom we talk. But I have put again, and I realize it's a lot, but the help we receive from the SME office, and they really help to focus on the specific procedure. So the pre-marketing activities, there are a lot of things that need to occur. If the company feels it's relevant, we request for an accelerated assessment procedure, the eligibility for the centralized procedure we heard this morning. I don't know if it's worth detailing it. The PIP compliance check, we heard about this morning. The ATC code request that needs to be conducted. The invented name, the brand name that we also need to do well in advance and can take sometimes a long time here if there are some issues. So this is all things that are all things that need to be anticipated, and of course the fee reduction request. Now, SME office, and in our case, in the Soliris case, we contacted them not for everything, but almost. The accelerated procedure here, I have put the timelines, but the slide here is not really to show the timelines of a procedure. I think you're familiar with it. The Soliris case, I think, was to show you that, of course, in the blue boxes here on the left-hand side, we had pre-submission meetings 6 months before submitting. We had a meeting with rapporteur to discuss the draft question, a clarification meeting. All along the way, we had interactions, and Melanie and her team helped with that. Plus, I have mentioned here on the bottom of the slide someone that is also very important is the PTL. I think the PTL, when you are in a marketing authorization application review, is also really a key person with whom to interact, and this person can greatly facilitate a procedure. And here you see D155, that's where we have to do the translations. And in Europe, the 24 languages is quite a lot of work, and the SME provides support for that. From the companies that I contacted to prepare this presentation were some companies went to marketing authorization, and they all confirmed that they use the SME translation support here. So definitely extremely valuable, extremely helpful, and last but not least, cost savings, because translation can be very expensive here. So that's what we did for Soliris. Yeah, it's here. So, but there are remaining challenges post-authorization. And I think once you have a positive opinion and a European marketing authorization, there are still national steps to be performed. European article numbering code, the blue box, the risk management plan implementation, if you have one. And this is also time and resource consuming, extremely time and resource consuming, actually. There are lots of variabilities across Europe, and unfortunately, very often there is lack of up-to-date information on the national agency's website, and that's a bit something that we found a bit difficult. And then navigating post-marketing regulations is also difficult, and we need close regulatory surveillance. And when we were very, very small, this was sometimes challenging, and we had to rely on of course, help from consultants. And now I think the SME office publication is helping. So I don't know if you're familiar with this newsletter, but also we're no longer SME. It's I don't know. I don't want to say it's something we read every evening before going to sleep, but it's something very valuable, and I encourage you to look at it. Okay, now the other question: how are SME handling the electronic submission requirements? And this is something that can be, I think, a nightmare here for some people. So the fundamental of the ECTD, I believe you know, it's a standard format of submission to the different agencies. It is set to improve lifecycle management. It enhances the transfer of information between sponsor, outsourcing partners, and the authorities. It offers the ability to find the component of the dossier and reuse some documents. And I think the last bullet point, I think, is what I prefer, or my favorite one, is it allows transparency of changes and variation amending the dossier. So what does this mean? I mean, with all these positive things, there are some challenges. And the ECTD requirements are bringing additional complexities in our environment. So there are specific technological knowledge that are required. So, and those are, in some companies, we call them the regulatory operation team. But not only regulatory operational team are working on this. The staff, the people that are authoring documents need also to be familiar with this. And in companies, we need to implement some tools to allow that the documents that we create are going to meet the e-submission criteria, which ultimately means a strict compliance with defined formatting requirements. And this is key to get a successful validation once you submit your ECTD. So just here, I have copy-pasted what is called the XML backbone. So this is one section of the quality section of a dossier. And you see here, when you have there is no pointer, but when you have behind, component of drug product, for example, you have 000. This means that it's the initial sequence, that the initial document that you submitted in the dossier. But then here, if you look at container closure system, you have 0001. This means that a revision has been made. So when you open your ECTD electronically, it's very easy to see what is the initial document or if something has been updated. I think this was not the case when I started in paper format, and this is a great improvement in the lifecycle management of our dossier here. So the ECTD basic flow process, just in a nutshell, we submit to the applicant is authoring documents, okay? So we can do that in or outside electronic document management. We can review in or outside the electronic document management. Then it's compiled in a document management system and the publishing is created. When the publishing is created, there are validation tools to make sure that the ECTD is acceptable for the authorities, and then we submit. Then it goes to the agency, EMA here, and the ECTD validation team is going to verify. If everything is okay, they upload the dossier in the agency website, and then it's validated and the review can start. If there is an issue, then it goes into circle. They contact us. They say it's not validated, and then we have to fix it within very, very specific time frame. So it's extremely important to have a ECTD compliance submission here. So looking into the future of this ECTD, I think the requirement will continue to change, maybe to increase. So adequate processes are required to keep pace with the regulation changes. So what we hear and what we believe among the people I spoke to is that e-submission expertise is critical. So some people are saying that what could be of interest is to use the ECTD dossier on a web-based approach, something like working in a cloud environment where everybody can populate. I think this is very fashionable today. And what are the approaches to consider for SMEs? Outsourcing solution, in-house production, which direction to go? And for this, I think there are two critical components to be considered. I spoke to that already. ECTD-ready documents and fully compliant ECTD document management system. This will allow you to publish your ECTD and submit without issues. So outsourcing. So some companies decide to outsource because then they avoid to purchase and maintain this expensive tool, because we have to say this ECTD publishing tool is expensive. Then if you outsource, you avoid the training of the employees, of your people that are not familiar with all those electronic tools. And also, it's probably to avoid delays in producing high-quality work. This is what the vendors are saying. I'm not sure it's 100% true, because the vendors, they give you timelines. Sometimes I think we all have faced the same situation. The documents can come very, very, very late. And to meet the timelines, it's not always compatible with the vendor timelines. So we do it in-house, or sometimes it's more flexibility if we can do it in-house. But okay, so even if you outsource, I think the preparatory work is still necessary. And at least in my company, where we outsourced the ECTD publishing at the beginning, there was a lot of control that we do in-house. The outsourcing is very expensive, and we say there are also hidden costs. That's the internal cost for controlling. The total dependence on outsourcing company can be also a drawback, and then the know-how is not developed internally. And when you as a small company, very often you outsource the preparation of various documents to various vendors. A CRO is preparing the clinical study report, another vendor is providing a non-clinical report. It's extremely important that all vendors understand the format, so that when they give the document and you build your CTD, everything can fit together. So this is why we were referring to something in the cloud environment, but make sure that every document is compliant. So our regulatory operation colleagues are always talking about templates, formats. I think this is critical here. So is the in-house production a right direction to go for SMEs? So this consideration, I think, that we have to ask ourselves is, can you hire regulatory operation professionals? Do we want to acquire a software to enable people to review the submission? And then you should list all the software and consider which one is the best for your own company. And this seems to be what happens in most of the case. It's an hybrid approach. So in-house, the companies are developing ECTD template, and then you share them internally and with your vendors. And then there is an outsourcing of the document management system, and an outsourcing of the first submission, and then the life cycle management is done in-house. Some other companies, they work à la carte, so they choose vendors for specific actions, and they do other things in-house. So really, by talking to different people, I think it's not black and white. It's not I outsource everything. In most of the cases, we do bits and pieces, and the vendor does bits and pieces. And I think this has to be customized based on the company needs. And we, for Soliris, we outsourced the first publishing completely. So the conclusion of this presentation is the marketing authorization application process and the overall development, I think, is currently well supported by European Medicine Agency and its SME office, and actually the various sections of the agency. This initiative has been helpful in supporting the Soliris review process, so our compound, and in supporting SMEs in general. This is what I heard. And then to the topic that I was specifically asked to address is the specific consideration for the ECTD. I think you have to think about the technical requirement will increase, and preparing an ECTD is something complex, and you have to realize that some help is needed, and maybe this hybrid solution is the right answer for the beginning or for a start. And I think that's the end. Thank you.